Alright, so it's been quite a while since I last updated this orchard, and really the project has been completed, so that's the main reason I haven't followed up. But I thought I'd give a quick rundown. So, this orchard was planted in 2017, and so now that would be 7 years in the seventh year. And this is an ultra high density orchard that was planted uh, with an 8 by 10 foot spacing. So I have 10 rows with 31 trees per row on zero point 0.7 acres. And so what that comes out to be about 450 trees per acre. And yeah, so there's a mix of varieties in this field. Uh, there's about uh, about one third is keat mangoes, and then there's a lot of manzanillo, which is these guys right here. Really big mango. Keats are really big too, but the manzanillos are also very big. They all they average about 2.25 pound, and they get as big as 3 pound. Probably get bigger than that too. Depends on how much mangoes are on the tree. So a bunch of manzanillo, a bunch of keat. There's a lot of raposas as well. The raposas haven't produced as good this year. There's one right there, but they're coming around. And the ones that are on the trees, they look like they're going to be absolutely delicious. So this orchard has been here for 7 years now, and the whole goal was that it was going to be a productive alternative orchard management system than the conventional mango orchard, which typically has about 50 to 70 trees. 100 trees is not uncommon anymore, but for a long time 50 trees per acre was the standard. And so this was 450 trees per acre, and at this point the trees are all full size, and managing the size of the trees are the most important thing to make sure that I have adequate sunlight inside of the orchard. And now and standing here, I can see that I'm still got a pretty good sunlight in the middle of the orchard, good airflow throughout. Now that I'm standing right in the middle of them, and so every year now, what I do is I come in and I completely remove the canopy of half the trees. So let's see, these trees right here. These trees were the ones that were pruned heavily last year, so you can see there's a lot of lankiness on the top that'll end up coming off at the end of the season. But surprisingly enough, even though I removed the canopy was as high as 10, maybe even 12 feet at that point, and they were causing too much shading, and I felt I needed to open up the orchard even more to get more sunlight and airflow in. So that's why I decided to take out the canopy of half the trees in order and see if one, I would still get production out of those trees, and two, if I did still get production, then that might be the best way to handle the pruning going forward, because I'm also considering completely removing half of the trees in order to open up the space. And if I removed every other row and brought it down to 5 rows, then I would have a lot of room to get in with my tractor, and then I could do a lot of the orchard management with the tractor, which would save a lot of work. But at the same time, before going through that whole process of removing all of those trees and losing that production, I decided I was just going to prune heavy on half of the trees, and even if it skipped production one year, maybe the increased sunlight and airflow in the orchard would improve the quality of what I was harvesting anyways, and in which case I would probably get more mangoes, even though I was taking half of the orchard out of production every year. But surprisingly enough, I still got pretty good production. I mean, not as great as if the whole canopy didn't come down. And when I mean I took the canopy down from 10 feet to 5 feet for the majority for this row and this whole row. So when I was done last year, it was pretty bare, hardly any leaves. And so some trees just a few mangoes on the bottom, and some, 20, 30 mangoes. So I didn't end up losing very much production overall. Or at least I got some production, and so it wasn't a total loss. And I opened up the orchard, and I feel like I get more space to work with, more sunlight and airflow, which was the original target. So next year, once the harvest is done, which will probably be, for this field, I don't know, October. It'll go pretty late this year. And I'll come in and I'll remove the other 5 rows. I'll knock their canopies down and bring it down. So overall, this whole project was about finding and testing out the ultra high density plantation technique to see if it was a legitimate orchard management system that would produce high quality and mangoes. And so overall, I think it was a success in demonstrating this. It also was a trial in that this might not be the absolute perfect density, and I think there needs to be some adjustments made as far as the spacing in between the trees, unless you really truly plan on managing everything by hand without any tractors or equipment. Then this is perfectly fine. And if you only have like say a quarter acre or your half acre or even 1 acre, and that's how you want to manage it, it would be perfectly doable. But if you're talking about going bigger than that, 5, 10, 15 acres, then at that point, you definitely need tractor assistance in order to manage that much mangoes. So you can see that these trees, these are the ones that only got pruned back down to maybe 7 feet last year, and they're back up to 10 feet, 10, 12 feet on the top. So these are the trees that have come down ultimately. And so that's the high density mango orchard year 7. This year it looks pretty good. The keat mangoes are always consistent. So one thing that's for sure is that this orchard management system is not going to make a light producing or a medium producing mango a heavy producer, right? It's not going to make a mango that is susceptible to powdery mildew or anthracnose not. So it ultimately comes down to the variety you choose to put in the orchard, which whether or not it will be productive. If you choose a really productive mango, then it's going to be really productive in the orchard. This is my white piri, which my white piris are very poor producers because they get so heavily affected by anthracnose and powdery mildew that I only get a little bit of fruit set per year. But it's a tasty mango, and so I'm still glad to have it. But it didn't make the white piri a good producer. It just made more work to get production from the white piris because of the powdery mildew. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this year, especially after last year and all the rain, and our production was pretty much zero last year because of that, and whatever we did have was ugly and poor quality. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this update. Leave a comment, let me know what you're doing. I'd love to hear other people's stories. Aloha.